Welcome back to 755 is Real. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer for The Athletic. I'm with my co-host Eric O'Flaherty, former Braves reliever. What's happening, Eric?
Not much. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing pretty good, dude. When the NMSC arrives, everything's going well.
Good. Happy for you.
I might be a little hyperbole there.
Free ad.
I was thinking of our advertisers, By the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, then make sure to check out our sponsors, including the aforementioned when NMC arrives, Roman. They are in the description on YouTube. So, well, Matt, it is here. Opening day is tomorrow. And I'm excited, man. Coming on. I know it might not sound like it, but I'm so tired between watching Final Four games late into the night and midnight and 8:15 clubhouse at spring training and flying home last night. I'm a little tired.
Well, I'm looking at this all these opening day rosters. I think it's pretty cool. They're actually putting some big time prospect rookies on the opening day roster.
I like that, man. That's a good rule. That's a good couple of rules they put in to
what were they?
Incentivize that. Well, if a guy spins or if a guy wins an award like Rookie of the Year or is like, runner up for a big upside or something, he gets a full year of service time anyway, whether they brought him up in the middle of this month in, 2 months in, or whatever. So it incentivizes teams. If you've got one of those guys that's that good, like Witt Jr., for instance, then why wouldn't you bring him up now? Because he wins Rookie of the Year, you're going to have to give him a service time year anyway, and you could have had his services for a month that you were manipulating the service time with.
Yeah, then you essentially lose a month of his service.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
I was wondering because there's Julio Rodriguez, Witt Jr. I mean, there's a few guys that are the perfect example of the guys that would get held down before and need to go to AAA and work on their defense or whatever for a month, and they made their team. So
yeah,
I knew there had to be something.
So did you see how many pitchers the Yankees are carrying?
No.
Well, the Braves are carrying 15. The Yankees are carrying 16 on a 28-man roster.
Well, I mean, DH in the American League makes that a little easier, but it's still a lot.
I got DH in National League now too, but
yeah.
All right, get out. What can I help you with? The cat stepped on something. So we're going to look at, I don't know if you saw the thing in The Athletic, but they did a bunch of people picked the winners of all the awards, winners of the divisions and all that. And I was too busy and driving at a day game on Friday night. Anyway, I didn't get my vote in. So, and it turns out 0%, 0 people voted for the Braves to win the World Series, which I thought was really kind of stunning, considering, they won the damn thing and they got almost everybody back. And the Dodgers don't have everybody back. I was kind of surprised there weren't any votes. So anyway, I did it, went ahead and voted, told people what I would have voted for if I'd have got my vote in. And I would have voted for the Braves, honestly. I hate to sound like a homer, but I think their pitching staff is better than the Dodgers. And the lineup is right there, can go neck and neck with the Dodgers. But I like their starting pitching especially is better than the Dodgers to me with Kershaw where he is now. Yeah. And I just think the Braves, with getting Acuna back, who missed half the year last year, and getting Ozuna back, who missed 3/4 of the year last year, I just like their team. I really do. And all the additions they made, even without Luke, that bullpen is still the best in the league.
Well, they got better,
Yeah, I think so.
I think they negated the loss of Freddie. Maybe you lose a little, maybe you gain a little right there, but nothing really, I don't think it's anything huge change in one direction or the other. And then getting Acuna back. I mean, you won the World Series without Acuna last year.
Yeah.
This guy could win the MVP.
They could, for sure. No doubt. Everybody does agree on that. So anyway, I thought we'd go through this real quick and get your thoughts on it and what, and then we're going to talk about PitchCom, the electronic pitch thing real quick. Get your thoughts on that. But just as we near opening day, because we talked a whole lot about, what's going on with the team the other day. So, we handled pretty much all that. There were no real surprises. The opening day roster, I already had it last when we did this thing before, I think. So, right, we went over that. So, a guy that did stand out, Bryce Elder started again. He started the first Grapefruit League game and he started the last one. He's going to be in the AAA rotation. And this dude pitched 7 2/3 hitless innings in his 2 starts. Walked a few guys, walked like 4 guys, 4 strikeouts, but 7 2 scoreless innings against the Twins and the Rays and these 2. And the Rays team was a pretty good lineup. I mean, their regular lineup. So a lot of the guys. So it was he really showed well. This is a guy that, last year was their minor league organizational pitcher of the year, guy from Texas. He's got like 5 pitches, man. And he plans to keep using them all because, as he said, I don't think any of them is a extraordinary pitch, but all of them together is a big strength for him.
Well, if you're not going to have a wipeout slider, wipeout curveball, 100-mile-an-hour fastball, those are it's really beneficial to have a lot of different stuff to show them. You don't show them your curveball the first time through the lineup. You show them slider or back and forth. It's tough because everybody's throwing 100 now, but if you look at there's examples of Kyle Hendricks or guys that can still really, really pitch and put up numbers. So it's not like you can't pitch in the league if you're not throwing 100. It's just kind of like, a lot of guys have just found the shortcut of training in a way that they throw 100 and don't have to pitch as much. But I still really appreciate guys that know how to pitch.
I thought Ian Anderson looked a lot better in his last start down there.
Yeah.
So that was encouraging for them.
He doesn't scare me at all when he's, off to a slow start.
Yeah, I mean, he had a terrible spring last year too, and didn't stop him once he got going. So let's start with let's see. I jumped right into I'm going to go the division start with. Who do you think is going to win the AL East? I was kind of surprised. 91% of our 30-some voters had the Blue Jays, and the others, all the rest had the Yankees. I mean, that's what I would have voted too. I voted Blue Jays. What did you think?
I think New York's just had trouble, with injuries and keeping it all together. I could see the Blue Jays doing it, but they lost Robbie Ray.
Yep.
I mean, that's your Cy Young, so
they added some stuff too.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they're looking pretty good. That division for me though is always that's the hardest one to predict because you always have 4 teams. It feels like that can do it. The Rays, for whatever reason, even when they look like they're not as good, they find a way to overperform and be in it.
If they do it this year, it'll be miraculous.
It'd be a miracle, but you never know.
Yeah,
I'd probably go Blue Jays.
You got the NL East. It was pretty close. The Braves got 57.6% of the votes. The Mets 36.4%, but that was before DeGrom's latest injury and Scherzer's sore, whatever he had. What did he have? Hammy?
Yeah, he had a hamstring, but I think he's supposed to be good to go.
Yeah, last I looked, they have not named their starter yet, but they might have done this today. I didn't see. But anyway, I'm picking the Braves in the NL East.
Easy.
Yeah, me too. I don't even think it's going to be that close. Maybe I'll be wrong. And you know what? It's not going to surprise me at all if the Phillies are second instead of the Mets. Won't surprise me at all.
The Mets we've talked about it before. They just have so much stuff come up during a season. And
they have a way of fucking up everything.
Yeah, you said it.
I mean, DeGrom, we talked about this. I agree with Smoltz. Smoltz has said several times on the air that DeGrom is going to have to learn that he doesn't have to throw max effort. He doesn't have to throw 98, 100. He could throw 94, 96 and still be the best pitcher in the league with the nasty stuff he's got in the movement. But he's so, I don't know if he's hung up on it or if he just thinks he likes to just try to overpower guys. But Smoltz doesn't think with his size, with his build, that he can stay healthy doing that max effort. And so far, Smoltz looks correct.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't ever watch DeGrom and think he's overthrowing. Yeah, he's a great athlete. He's tall. He's got long levers. He gets great extension, and his delivery is pretty clean mechanically. I think he's able to throw as hard as he does just because of the athleticism and being that tall. But Smoltz has some serious experience. So if he's seeing something like that, I'd give it credit. I just don't know that. Like for me personally, when I tried to throw a little slower and take something off, I lost control. It's going at this 90-95% effort. I could hit the glove. When I tried to take something off or take a step back, it messed up my timing. It messed up everything. So that could be another reason he's sticking to that. I mean, you'd have to talk to DeGrom to know if he's trying to throw hard, or if that's just what he does. I think it's just what he does, but he could, it's not as easy.
Right.
Talking to a Hall of Famer, they're like, yeah, just take some off. But these guys are so special that they can do things like that. I don't know how he would pitch at 95 if he'd have the same control or life on his pitches.
Right. We got AL Central. White Sox are the runaway favorite, of course, 85%. Interestingly, Tigers, 9.1. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but I have Tigers as my most underrated team. I think the Tigers are going to be good. I don't think they're going to stay with the Sox probably, because Sox just have so much talent, such a big payroll. But the Tigers are going to be good. A lot better this year, I think, than people are expecting.
Yeah. I'd go White Sox. I mean,
yeah,
that's an easy one for me.
NL Central, Brewers, Cardinals. It's going to be interesting to see what Pujols does, but it's not enough difference to make up the ground between them and the Brewers with the pitching staff the Brewers have.
That pitching staff for the Brewers, for me, I mean, three really, really tough games. Every time you play them, you're going to deal with one of those guys. I think with that staff and Hader at the back end, I feel pretty good about the Brewers.
They don't have a great offense, but they got enough, I think.
They got a great park to hit in, though.
They sure do. Let's see what happens with the Cardinals. They have certainly surprised people a lot of years, where you just weren't expecting the Cardinals to be great.
They call it the devil magic.
You got the last run of Wainwright and Yachty, probably. You got Pujols. You got that trio going. Isn't that something? It's going to be like turn back the clock, man, a decade.
Yeah, and him going home to where he's had nothing but success, I could see him kind of getting rejuvenated going back to St. Louis.
How about that timing for the DH? How'd that work out for them? Jesus.
Perfect.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of people buy tickets to go see Pujols in his last trip through last run with St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
And when they visit all these ballparks where people watched him for, all his career, his fabulous career with the Cardinals. Who win the AL West? This one's a good one. This is by far the closest of the divisions as far as people picking, or our guys picking. And I think it's like that way everywhere. There's a lot of difference of opinion. Mariners edged out the Astros in our poll. Mariners with 42.4, Astros 39.4. And I'm going to vote Mariners myself.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to what Julio Rodriguez does, and Kelenic too. That Kelenic's that super prospect they got in the Cano deal. He kind of struggled when he came up, but he's had a good spring.
Robbie Ray.
They got Robbie Ray. I mean, we'll get to all the Cy Young stuff, but he's pitching in Safeco versus Toronto. I just, the Mariners kind of have a little bit of that Mets thing where things just seem to go wrong, and they haven't made the playoffs in it's like 20 something years.
Wow.
And the Astros are doing it every year. So for me, I'd stick with the Astros, but they're definitely, this is as close as it's been.
And hell of a bullpen with the Mariners too, right?
Yeah.
You got the, NL West. I just don't see the Giants repeating what they did last year, especially with Buster Posey no longer around. He was such a leader.
Yeah, I agree.
You lost Gossman. They're not spending quite as much, I don't think. But anyway, I just don't think they have quite the talent to do that 2 years in a row what they did last year. And I think the Dodgers are about as good as they were last year. They'll probably win 100 games again, the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm picking the Dodgers there. I think we got all the divisions. I don't think I skipped any, did I?
Mm-mm.
All right. Let's see what are you about AL MVP?
I think Trout's going to stay healthy. I think people forgot about him because he's been banged up. But
I agree, man. I'm shocked at how few people voted on Trout, because I thought 6%, right? Yep, 6. We had 9 for Aaron Judge, 27 on Shohei Ohtani, and 42 on Vlad Guerrero.
Well, I mean, he's a good pick too.
Yeah, I picked Guerrero, but I'm like you. If Trout can stay healthy, for some reason, I just think this might be the year that Trout stays healthy. He's not quite old yet. He's not on the downside yet, and he's just due to stay healthy. calf injuries, that kind of thing. If
Yeah,
he could
he
play,
hasn't had major injury.
no,
Yeah, I mean, it's just been weird stuff.
the calf ended up being a major one. He's out so damn long. But if he can play 145 games, I think he'll win the MVP. But I'm gonna take Guerrero, but it's with a caveat that if Trout plays 145, he's gonna win MVP.
I don't know how you take that's where my head's at too. I just think he's, I would say Ohtani too, but I don't see Ohtani, pitching and hitting and doing the whole thing. I love watching it, but I just think it's, it could be pretty tough on him to stay healthy long term. And he did it, last year he was pretty healthy, but yeah.
Well, that new rule they have where he could start a game pitching
stay in to hit
and stay in as a DH. What do you think of that? Pretty much the Ohtani rule. Nobody else is going to do it.
I mean, it's his rule. Nobody else is doing that.
I mean, Max Fried could do it, I guess, but he's not going to start out the game as a DH.
Well, he'll get a few more at bats, but I don't even know. I mean, if you pitch like 6 innings, come out of the game, and you sit till your next at bat in the 8th, hit a double in the gap and try to run full speed. I don't even know if I was managing. If I'd want to take that chance with him.
Not ice or anything like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, does he go take care of his arm after he's done throwing? Does he get his running in and then go DH? That's a tough one to manage.
I guess the timing matters,
Yeah.
Timing, when he's up next inning, that kind of thing. I tell you what, I think the sleeper there is Luis Robert, man. That guy's a stud.
Yeah.
He's a big boy, man, and he can hit.
Yeah.
NL MVP, a runaway favorite among our voters, Juan Soto. He is a media darling, isn't he? Because he's an OPS machine, metrics machine. But I tell you what, I voted for him only because I think Acuna is going to miss about a month. If Acuna gets back in 2 weeks instead of the full, plus Acuna's coming off the ACL, it just might take him a while to get going. But it's not going to surprise me if Acuna does it, man. If he wins MVP, it really won't. Soto, the problem, he's going to be on a terrible team.
Yeah. That was my only hesitation. But when you sent me the text about all this, I was like, that Soto was the first guy that popped into my head. He's been consistent. He has great at bats. I mean, some of the balls he hits to left center that are just, he doesn't have to swing hard. And I've seen some interviews with him recently talking about hitting and talking about he knows what pitchers are trying to do to him. He sounded really, really smart. He's not up there just wailing at anything close and just has this great hand-eye coordination. He's thinking through his at-bats and kind of like a more of a Votto type of mindset in the dish, not just trying to bash. But, he was the first guy that popped into my head, and I hate just picking the obvious choice, but that's who I went with too.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't Andre Dawson still the last player to win the MVP from a last-place team with the Cubs?
I'm not sure. But
I think he still is. He was for a long time. I think he still is. I can't think of a recent one that did.
I mean, I think it's changed a lot in recent years, though, because you've had Cy Young winners win 11 games.
Oh, yeah. Definitely metrics plays such a more important role now than, place of the team does. But still, we'll see.
I don't know what kind of backup Soto has in that lineup either, because he's an easy guy to just say we're not letting him beat us.
Trey Turner isn't in there anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's man, the Nats have got to get going again, because you don't want to waste this guy's best years in this. I mean, he is so good right now,
It's creeping into that Trout territory where it's
he really is. Offensively, defensively, still not great. He's just serviceable.
Yeah, I just mean Trout territory where you have this great player and you're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah. Who will win the AL Cy Young? Did I do? We did AL MVP. Who will win the AL Cy Young? Now, Garrett Cole was the big favorite on ours, 42.4%. I voted for the second place guy here, Giolito.
I went Robbie Ray. I know it's tough to repeat, but going to Safeco versus pitching in Toronto for me is a huge difference. And the thing I like about him is he's not tricking anybody.
Yeah.
He is just aggressive and pounding strikes and coming right after people left-handed. I think it seemed like he really kind of fed off of being on a competitive team last year.
Mm-hmm.
and he hasn't pitched in a pitcher's park yet, for his home stadium. So I think, with it being hard to repeat and everything, for me, he was the guy I looked at like he's the most likely to have another huge season. For whatever reason, I think New York's been hard on Garrett Cole.
I do too. He has not been the same since he got there. He's had flashes of brilliance, but he has not been the same.
And they got rid of the sticky.
Yeah, no doubt. He's still getting used to that. Or hasn't been able to get back to where it was before that. The facial hair and the sticky.
Yeah.
Probably the sticky was more important.
You never know, man. I heard Brian Wilson got offered like $2 million by the Yankees toward the end of his career and wouldn't go because they wanted him to shave.
Wow. I didn't know that. Off that.
Some guys, this confidence thing or whatever it is.
Brian Wilson, the Giants closer.
Yeah. Remember he had that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was the first with the huge beard.
Yeah.
With the hardened beard. Remember how weird it looked on him because he was the first guy to have it. And then
because he has a red one and he dyed it black.
And then went two. Oh, his was red originally.
Yeah, I've seen old pictures of him with a shorter beard, and it's kind of reddish. And then that's why he never grew it because he didn't like the red. So then he just grew it long and dyed it black. So that's why it looked like it was painted onto his face.
Just jet black, yeah. And then within 2 years, about 50 guys in baseball had the big, huge beards. That was the thing for the while, man. Not many now, but there were a ton for a while.
Yeah, trends in baseball, a lot of guys just jump on board.
Facial hair, man, in baseball. Long hair, the hater hair. There's a Braves guy in minor league camp, a Braves prospect that's got the hater hair. It looks just like him.
Really?
Body and hair, yeah.
There used to be this haircut that everybody was getting. It was like kind of a mullet or like a faux hawk, but with a mullet in the back.
Yeah.
A shorter one, but we call it the Gwinnett Braves haircut because every prospect coming up, they want to look like they belong. So every one of them had to have that haircut when they got called up.
Who will win the NL Cy Young? Again, the runaway favorite, Walker Buehler over Scherzer. I went with tell me a contrarian, but I went with Zach Wheeler. I just thought Zach Wheeler last year was pretty phenomenal with the Phillies, and with Nola back this year, to give him a little more support. I think Nola will be back closer to normal. I don't know. We'll see. Wheeler, to me, though, looks like he's at the peak of his career now. He's really hit the peak of his career and figured things out. He's dominant stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's had the stuff the whole time. He's just been hurt so much.
And that's deep.
Yeah, he does go deep. For me, it's the injury stuff that kind of shied away from him on that, just because the Mets got like one good year out of him, and he turned that into however much he got from the Phillies. But I went with Scherzer because I think the Mets are going to let him ride and really pile up innings. I don't know how many more years he can do it, and maybe this is the last one, but I think he's got 1 or 2 more years where he'll throw 200 innings or something like that. And when he's pitching, he doesn't get hit. Man,
all the little nagging stuff that's starting now, though, that it just used to, you could just count on penciling him in for 7-8 innings, every game.
That might also be him saying something when something comes up too, though, like getting a little smarter with it, not just pitching through it,
trying to last. My sleeper there, the dude for the Giants, man, who was so dominant in the postseason.
Oh yeah, for a while.
Logan Webb.
Yeah,
that guy is nasty.
Yeah. I didn't think of him.
He's going to be the race this year with Gossman going. That he pitched.
He's impressive.
Yeah, saw him in person against the Braves, man. Oof, nasty and great presence too.
Good presence.
AL Rookie of the Year, Bobby Witt is the runaway, 57.6% over Julio Rodriguez. Hard to go wrong with Bobby Witt. He's going to play all the time. He's going to get every chance to play, and he looked ready last year when he was up. In spring training, he's not at all afraid.
So I picked this before I heard the news that he was on their team, but I went with Julio Rodriguez. I mean, it could be either guy, but this Julio Rodriguez, man,
I like him.
He's a freaking stud. And I think he's got a good mindset and a good attitude to kind of do it. And I just think, it's not supposed to come into the voting, but I think the Mariners are going to be a lot more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could come into play too.
And I meant when Witt was up this year in spring training with the big league, and last year he was in spring training with the big club last year as well.
Oh, yeah.
He hasn't debuted yet, but he's going to be on the opening day lineup, and he's going to play
Yeah.
all the time. I think he's going to be the regular. So yeah. So put up huge numbers in the minors. You got let's see, we got NL Rookie of the Year. This one's I hate picking Suzuki, but he's going to win probably.
Yeah.
I just don't think I just do think I'm surprised there still isn't a rule against guys playing in Japan, especially because I thought Chipper should have won it over Nomo that year. Nomo won. He'd already been established veteran in Japan. I just think it gives them an unfair advantage, and that it wouldn't be that hard for MLB to cite a couple of leagues, Japanese league, obviously, higher leagues, where it's closer to pay. It's not like, I'm not saying if you play winter ball in Venezuela, you shouldn't be a Rookie of the Year, but Japan and also Korea. There's a lot of guys going to Korea now, are coming out of the Korean league. But I don't think you should be able to play in Japan for however many years and come over here and be considered a rookie. But as long as that's the rule, he's got to be the favorite.
What if they at least put an age limit on it? Because I know Japan's not quite MLB, but if you had a guy that was 25, maybe he's got some jitters and stuff, but a lot of these guys are 29 years old. They've learned almost everything they're going to learn in baseball at that point. And that's the hardest part about being a rookie, is finally squaring up with competition that can handle you. But that's who I went with too. I just felt like pretty easy choice.
Best off-season acquisition. That was another one of our choices here, just in both leagues. And Freddie Freeman edged out Max Scherzer for this one. I'm going to go, again, at the risk of being a homer, I'm going to go with Olsen. I just think with what knowing that they got Olsen and then signed him to that 8-year deal, I love what they did, because you lose Freddie Freeman, arguably the most important guy on the team with the leadership he brought and all that, and you replace him with a guy that I don't know that you're not going to be as good or better with him in the next, by 5 years. I'm sure you're going to be better with him, but you might be better this year. Like you said, it's going to be a little bit better or a little bit worse or the same, but I don't think it's going to be big in any direction.
Well, I guess the contract doesn't. It's just the player you're getting, but I mean, getting him for that deal too, makes it a great acquisition for me. I mean, for me, it's a toss up between Freddie and Olsen.
And by getting Olsen, you were able to go out and get guys like Jansen and McHugh too, with that money that you saved. So maybe Eddie Rosario. I don't know how many of those guys you would have got if you'd have given Freddie a contract with close to a $30 million AAV instead of the 15 you're paying Olsen this year. So, I think Freddie and Olsen are the two for sure ahead of Scherzer to me, especially with what you paid Scherzer. But shouldn't have to worry about what they pay him. Just how was the pickup? But I like what Freddie and what Olsen are going to do for their teams, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And Carlos Correa was a hell of a pickup by the Twins. I don't like the contract because he's going to probably opt out, but he's going to make a difference for them, and they could make a run at that division for sure. And it'll be because of him, a big part of him. Another one I didn't mention, but another one of my real sleepers for MVP. I know he's never done it yet, but if he stays healthy, Byron Buxton could win MVP. He's that good. That
Derek
guy
Lowe used to have everything. That quote. Derek Lowe, anytime they'd be, MLB Network would be blowing some guy up.
Yeah.
That's hurt a lot. He'd be walking by the TV on his way to do some more exercise or something. He'd just say, when healthy. Anytime guys that are hurt a lot come up in a conversation, he just screams, when healthy.
But this guy's
it's such a kicker.
He's
Troutish.
Yeah.
When healthy.
He's like Trout.
Yeah.
With what he does in center field, this guy. I mean, he should win a Gold Glove, and he could be an MVP candidate if he stays healthy for sure. He could rake too. Look at his numbers last year.
He was
shit. His offensive numbers.
If you were like a Twins fan, I mean, I come across some of their stuff on the internet, and it's just like, this is the year he's staying healthy. This is it. Every year they go through it where he's putting up these crazy numbers, and then some. The thing that sucks about guys like that too is like, it's not always, a hamstring or something like that. Then it'll be this random thing. They fall down a staircase or they run into the wall.
He does that too.
On top of like baseball injuries or natural muscular injuries.
Right.
They have freak things happen to them the one year they are staying healthy. But some guys just seem to have this curse where it's just something's coming up every year.
Another one of the many, many Georgia high school kids, by the way,
Yeah, he's a stud.
from a little town in South Georgia out in the middle of nowhere. Let's see the other. Oh, two other interesting ones here. Most underrated team going into the season. I already gave mine earlier. Tigers for me. Mariners might be underrated too. The people that aren't picking to win the division, obviously, but I think a lot of people know Mariners are going to be good after last year.
Yeah, they know now, but I think Kelenic could do pretty well, and Rodriguez too. And then you got a Cy Young winners. I'd go with the Mariners, even though I don't know if they're going to win that division. I still think they're a little underrated because last year was looked at as like a miracle. They got 90 wins, but this year I would expect them to.
I think the Marlins could be underrated this year too. Nobody's expecting anything from them. I think they'll finish ahead of the Nationals in the East for sure. That ain't saying much, but they could be surprised. But I like the Tigers. I really like the moves they made. Most overrated team going into the this one will not be a surprise.
Easy, yeah,
easy. Mets for me.
Yeah, I think so too.
How about the other New York team, the Yankees?
I think the Dodgers too. I think they're obviously favorites to get to the World Series or at least match up with the Braves and try to get there, but I don't know how long they can keep it up. And it's like they just get picked hands down. Like you said, no writer picked the Braves to win the World Series,
which is crazy, man.
It's crazy. So I mean, just the fact that everybody just hands it to the Dodgers now, I think that's a little high on them.
Yeah, so I got the two New York teams there, and also remember how much money in the early going the Rangers spent?
Yeah,
they're going to be terrible still. They're going to be bad, and they spent a lot of money.
Well, I thought about Seager as the best acquisition, and then you just think about it, and you're like, does it even make that big a difference? Getting a guy like that if you're still not going to be very good. If you're going to finish in third or fourth place.
Yeah, they got two middle infield studs, man, or two infield studs. PitchCom system used last year in Low A West. And at spring training this year by a bunch of teams, I early on we asked Snit about it, and he was like, Snit not much into that technology. I don't know if more Braves started using it as it went along. Everybody was free to use it if they wanted to and try it out. Did not sound like it's going to be a big deal with the Braves, but if somebody wants to use it, we'll see. But it's everybody's kind of got to be on the same page, as far as the catcher and the pitcher and all that, because everybody's got to be invested in it. But what it is it's called PitchCom. And basically it allows the catcher to send pitch signals, call the signals to the pitcher without putting down fingers. So you're not shaking the catcher off. He's not painting his fingernails white or a bright color. The guy at second base is not looking in to try to steal. And most importantly, teams aren't setting up like the Astros did or whatever to put cameras in center field fence somewhere out there or stake somebody out there with binoculars or whatever to illegally discern signals and pass them along. So all the technology has basically caused MLB to come up with this rule to try to fight that technology so people can't steal signals anymore.
I mean, the only other thing you could do is a lifetime ban, if you got caught doing it.
Right.
But I mean, it's like the steroids. I mean, they started doing 80 games, and how many guys got popped this offseason? Mm-hmm. And they'll always say I ate a weird steak or I couldn't get my wife pregnant or some weird story of why it got in their system.
Right,
but it's not happening to everybody, and you got to be more careful than that. But I just think this PitchCom thing is just kind of a necessary, I hate it. I think it's lame. I don't want to see a pitcher doing this or tapping his earpiece, however they're doing it. I don't like it, but I think it's just the cheating's gotten so out of hand. You have to have something to combat it that another team's not going to get into, but it's like whatever that communication system is, there's enough nerds around baseball who's saying they won't find a way to hack that.
Yeah.
That's why I think that the best thing would be to make the penalty so extreme if you got caught cheating that nobody risks it. And for me, with all the steroids and stuff back in the day, ruining your reputation, losing credit for anything you've accomplished in your career in an 80-game suspension, I would never think about it. But some guys do. So I don't know. I mean, it's just something that I feel like they have to do. I'll be happy if the catcher's not jogging out to the mound 6 times an inning.
Right. That's
just a pain in the ass. It'd be nice if people just wouldn't cheat though, but you can't get that lucky.
And you know, all this came about during this century with all the video that's in ballparks now, because that didn't used to be the case. There's video everywhere, and it's kind of hard to uh, discern which is legal video and which is set up to, for illegal reasons. And batters going back and watching a pitcher back in the tunnel or back in the batting room that most teams have near the cage in these new ballparks. So all the video prevalence is what's caused that has led to all this. So
yeah,
but
you also can't have a guy sitting out in center field with binoculars.
Right.
Like I think Batista or somebody, or the Blue Jays, some teams have been accused of having guys sit out in center field with a white T-shirt and binoculars. He's not going to be able to pick that either, even without technology.
Yeah, I hate like you do. I hate the fact that I enjoy watching a pitcher look in, shaking off a catcher, or confirming or whatever. That's kind of cool. Then what's coming or whatever. But I hate catchers going out and having to change the signals change the signs with a pitcher in the middle of an inning, or clarify what's wrong. They're not on the same page and all that. The gamesmanship, a guy at second base trying to steal signs. I kind of like all that. I mean, it's just when people went over the line. And people go, well, cheating's cheating. Well, no, it's not, because that's always been part of the game. Being at second base, you're not cheating if you're trying to get the signs from second base. That's just part of it. If you're doing it with your eyes and you're not using a device to help you do it, it's always been viewed as part of the game. So, and if a pitcher wants to make you pay for, if you're a hitter looking back out of the corner of your eye and a pitcher wants to put the next one inside and make you pay, I always kind of liked all that, but it's part of it, It's like the game gets more modernized and they clean up all that shit, the fun stuff like that, or the areas of the game where people exhibited toughness. So anyway, it's all part of it
anymore. I think the gray area with the guy on second now is what I heard is teams were using algorithms to pick the signs. So they'd have they'd have somebody on a computer watching on TV.
Right.
Type it in each sign and run it through an algorithm, and they'd solve this puzzle of what they were using, what the sequencing was on their signs in two pitches. And so then, that got out of hand to where guys were going to second base and they knew the pitcher's signs ahead of time. They'd do it a series ahead of time and they knew what each reliever was using, each starter was using before they even got there. So if they're using follow two, and you look at that and you get two pitches right on second base, you got it on the third pitch, give them the signal, and you go from there. So even technology even kind of screwed that natural sign stealing part of the game out, which no baseball player has any trouble with a guy on second base peeking in and looking at the signs and trying to pick it. Like, that's just gamemanship. That's part of the game forever. Once technology gets involved is what kind of pissed everybody off.
So it'll be interesting. It was approved by MLB to use. So some teams are going to be using it this spring, this season, especially ones that tried it in spring training, got to handle it. Some of them liked it, and some of them didn't even give it a chance. So we'll see. I like what one of our Twitter followers said, kind of what you just said. He said, I'm torn. On one hand, I don't mind seeing technological improvements in the game, but there is something romantic about the nuances of baseball and the nonverbal communication on the field between players. Too bad technology was abused by teams to get an unfair advantage.
Well, you watch a big movie, right? Like, it's the camera zooms in on Major League or something to that one sign flashing down, then the catcher pounds his glove. Yeah. What's that moment like if he's looking at his watch or is touching his ear? That's kind of stuff that's just ingrained in baseball that you love. But yeah, I mean, I'd probably reluctantly use it, and just, as a pitcher, it's really nice not to have that doubt when you go to throw a pitch and you have to wonder if the hitter knows what's coming. It's such a distraction. It would probably cut down on a lot of big innings, because the thought in your head that this hitter might know what's coming, and then they do take the slider, you're like, shit, now you're not throwing with confidence, and you mix up the signs. That's why you see them doing all that, because anytime a hitter takes a pitch that you feel like they shouldn't take now, you have to have that question in your head. Are they cheating? Do they know my signs? What's going on here? And to just eliminate that side of it and kind of streamline the game, I'm cool with. So I'd probably use it. I'd feel like, I'd feel like I was cheating in a sense, or doing it wrong, but
take a shortcut or something.
It'd feel like a shortcut, but I'd still do it just to not have to worry or wonder if the hitter knows what's coming.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's some pitchers obviously they're not going to care because they don't care if the hitter knows what's coming because they're still going to
Yeah.
blow it by them.
Yeah.
but most pitchers aren't that fortunate. So
Yeah, Kenley's not going to have to worry about it. He throws one pitch.
yeah. All right. Well, ready to go. One more day just to think where we were, a month and a half ago with wondering when we're going to get started, if we're going to miss half a season, are we going to start at the All-Star break, all that. This is kind of cool that we're starting barely just a week over. But it's the first time at least probably since 95 is the last time I could have figured that AAA minor leagues actually started before the big leagues.
Yeah, it's weird.
They played last night. Mueller pitched really well. They lost 2-1, but he pitched really well. Tukey goes tonight. So they're going to have 2 games in before the Braves play their first. Big weekend here. It got cool, unfortunately, and a little bit rainy. But Saturday, it's going to be chilly, man, like low in the 40s. So it's going to feel like the start of a season should in most places. But the weather had been beautiful here. You could have had spring training here most of the time. It was that pretty. But now it's getting chilly just in time for opening day. So it's going to be interesting. A lot of big stuff. The Braves are giving out their rings on third game Saturday. And they're going to hang that banner or unveil the banner at opening night tomorrow night. So it's going to be cool. They're selling standing room only tickets. Braves, by the way, are the number 1 highest price on StubHub on the secondary market for tickets.
Oh, yeah.
How about that? Yeah.
They should be.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times you get to go to a opening day after your team won the World Series?
No, yeah. I mean, all for the season right now, all their tickets are
all tickets.
They're leading on StubHub. Yep. Oh. So we'll see if that lasts. All right. We'll do another of these after they play a few games, and we'll get into our three times a week schedule. And hope everybody keeps following us and rating us and all that on YouTube and Spotify and Apple and everything else. All right. 7:55 is real. We are out. Appreciate it, everybody.